for over 20 years. So since law school, he was at Barnes & Turner for 20-some plus years. We started to notice in the courts that there was this huge issue with evictions. And we had so many people struggling and going through evictions. And so we thought, you know, the best part was that the person I seceded from the Harris County Civil Court at Law Number 4 was Commissioner Leslie Briones, and she understood what was happening. And so we decided to start an eviction court, and so we did that. And it was through the help of Commissioner Briones that was established. We're thinking, who could we have that would be the perfect person to understand everybody's struggle, give them the time of day, hear out what's happening, and even if the outcome wasn't favorable, who could represent the 4 courts that were there? Because we actually voted in the associate judge. And that person that we voted in unanimously, all 4 judges, was Judge Jermaine Thomas. He served in that position for 2 years, and we realized that there was also another issue that we had. So my court, or the court that I serve, the last time it was established was in 1977, 49 years ago. I was 1 year old. That's how long ago this court was established. And we went from the 2 million population back then to 5 million in Harris County, and not one court had been established since then. So thank your representatives, because they heard us and they voted for it. And then we ended up getting Harris County Civil Court at Law Number 5. Again, unanimously appointed by the Commissioner's Court, Judge Jermaine Thomas was promoted to Harris County Civil Court at Law Number 5. Because of the timing of the creation of the court, it was the first week of December, we had already put in for our respective offices. And so now what ends up happening is because the rest of us have already put in for our respective offices and won our primaries. Harris County Court Number 5 is actually powered by the people. So not only does he serve the people, it's powered by the people. So the precinct chairs, you guys are going to vote on Harris County Civil Court at Law Number 5. All right. Yes. These are a part of your summer plans now, people. All right. Okay. So, yeah, yes. I don't know the date is, but he'll tell you about that. So that's where we come in, to where we're telling you what we have done as a collective courtroom with now 5 civil courts. We have no backlog. We hear 4,000 cases a year. 4,000 cases a year. Start to finish within 365 days. We hear a case and it is done. So that headache for you, that worry, that thing that's holding up your life, we're not going to let that happen for you. We move it through. We are efficient, we work well together, and we do everything to serve the people. And so we'd love to continue to do that. I know I'm going to do my plug for that. I would love to continue to do that. But more importantly, today, I'd love to introduce to you my best friends and my colleague, Judge Jermaine Thomas.
Judge Singh. Good morning, Democrats. How y'all doing? Thank you so much for showing up for us today. I'm quite appreciative of it. We are here today. When I first started doing call time for the campaign, reaching out to precinct chairs, and I talked to this young lady by the name of Donna Jones. Just talked to her once. And then she said, well, we need you out in the community. I know a place where we can have breakfast. I'm going to send it to you. You need to make it happen. I said, Ms. Jones, I'm going to make it happen. I never talked to her again, but she's here today. And then she's at the breakfast. She said, well, he said he was going to show up for us, so I got to show up for him. And I appreciate that, Ms. Jones. And as you get to know me more, that's the kind of person I am. You show up for me, I'm going to show up for you every time. 10 out of 10. I got a little interesting aside I wanted to share. I told Ms. Fondo, please raise your hand. I was going to rub her a little bit this morning. I met Ms. Fondo I was at a black leadership event regarding Talarico after the primary. And I sat next to her, and Representative Ron Reynolds had acknowledged me during the event. And I'm a new on the scene. My first year as a public, as an elected, although I've been a public servant for the past 3 years, and he acknowledged me, and this fine note tapped me on my arm and said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm Judge Jermaine Thomas, presiding judge of Harris County Court at Law Number 5. She said, "Okay." Later on that day, her name came across on my social media, and I sent her a friend. I sent her a friend request on Facebook. And days later, a couple of weeks later, I bumped into her at another event. It was the Precinct chair event at last concert, and she was sitting next to Judge Johnson, partaking in the meal, and I reintroduced myself. She said, "Yeah, you sent me a friend request on Facebook." I said, "Yes, ma'am, I did." I reminded her where we met. She said, "Okay, I'm still considering it though." I'm still considering it. But later on that night, after the event was over, I was laying in my bed talking to my wife, and she accepted my friendship request. So I made it, guys. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the friendship moving forward. And why are we here? I'm going to tell you who I am, what I'm doing, what we're doing, why, and how you can help. My name is Judge Jermaine Thomas. I'm a father of two, married to Monique Thomas, my wife for over 20 years. We built a family together, and a strong family, and I'm thankful for it because she's the one that makes the family run. I do all the legal stuff, but she made everything happen. She supports me in everything I do, and I'm quite appreciative of it. She's like the unseen hand, but she's probably the most productive of the two. I'm a native of Houston, Texas, born and raised. I was born to a teenage mother who had already had a child at 16. She had me at 18. I don't come from a significant amount of resources. I was a child that was brought up on, back then it was AFDC. Today we call it SNAP benefits. And we were on welfare. We lived in public housing. And I was never one to believe that the situation I was born into is where I had to remain. I refused to accept that. And so I always thought beyond where I was. And my mother always instilled that in us. And she said the way to achieve or accomplish that goal is through education. It's a great equalizer. And my mom didn't have a formal education. In fact, she didn't even have a high school diploma. And as a single parent, the world was tough for her. But she instilled in me, get your education, and the things could get better. And I listened to her. I often say that people tend to think that a lack of a formal degree means that a person is not educated. I beg to differ. I think I'm reminded of a quote from one of my former clients and mentors. He used to tell me, "I don't have a college degree, but a lot of people that work for me do." And to his credit, I'm a graduate of Westbury High School, which is in Southwest Houston. I began the first part of my life on Sunnyside, South Park area. I'm a child of Sunnyside, South Park. Moved to the Southwest Houston. We moved there thinking that my mom had the opinion that that was the best way to raise a young man and two girls. I'm one of three of her children. I'm the only boy. So all my life, I grew up in a household with nothing but women. I was always the man of the house. I didn't have a relationship with my father. My father was never actively in my life. And I always said I was going to do better than that. I wanted to break those chains. I did not want to repeat that cycle. And it was important to me to raise my kids the way I wanted to have been raised. Now, I often think no book comes with being a father. No book comes with being a father. So I didn't know actually how to be a dad. But one thing I knew I could do was be present in their lives and care. And I think that's been the world for me. My daughter is a recent graduate of Sam Houston College. My son is a student at Prairie View A&M. I'm not going to hold that against him. I I still love them notwithstanding that. As I said, after I graduated from Westbury High School, I attended Texas Southern University, where I studied political science. Graduated in 1998, then went on to study at South Texas College of Law, which is located in downtown Houston, Texas. But in 1997, I always wanted to be a public servant in some capacity. I never envisioned being a judge. I always thought it would be on the policy side because I wanted to impact lives. I wanted to give a voice to the folks who wasn't being heard. And that was my passion and my goal in my life. I thought through the service, through legal service, I could do it. I was a fan and a fond of the work that Thurgood Marshall had done. I recognized that a lot of things that happened positively in our lives as African Americans were done through the court. The court, that was a process that was faster than legislation. So I wanted to be involved in that way. So what I did was I decided to take on an internship. That internship was at the time sponsored by then State Senator Rodney Ellis. It was called the Texas Legislative Internship Program. That program still exists to this day. I'm still active in mentoring some of the students who are participating in that program. That was the most important event in my life, I believe, taking that internship. During the course of that internship, I worked at the Texas Legislature in 1997, which was the 75th session of the legislature. I met then State Representative Sylvester Turner. I worked the whole session. My goal was to go in there and be a resource. I was there 8 a.m. every morning, and I worked until they said we couldn't work no more. I believed in work ethic. A work ethic had always been instilled in me. In fact, I got my first job at 15 years old. That job was at a car wash in Houston, Texas. I worked at a car wash for 10 years. I believe hard work demeans no man, and I'm not afraid of it. I worked at that car wash until I finished my first year in law school, and I began my second year in law school. Essentially in my life, I've had 3 jobs. At that car wash, as an attorney for the law firm of Barnes & Turner, which was founded by Mayor Sylvester Turner in 1983, along with Barry Barnes. And my third job was being a judge for you good folks of Harris County, Texas. During that internship, I developed a relationship with Representative Turner. He's always been a service and an impact and a mentor in my life. He's also your former state representative for the area we're in here today. And when I completed that internship, I went back to TSU to finish my degree off and started law school. And after my second year in law school, as it was coming to an end, I was in the need of a clerkship opportunity. I didn't have many on the table. So what I decided to do was call the only lawyer I knew to ask that I work in his law firm. I went to Mr. Turner. I said, Mr. Turner, I'd like to work for you for free this summer just so I can have an experience. I knew if I got my foot in the door, I would prove myself. And Mr. Turner said, okay, Jermaine, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Just go back and finish your semester off, and this summer a job will be waiting for you. And I'm going to pay you. I said, what? I said, yeah. He said, I can't have folks out here in the street talking about I got people working for me for free. And true to his word, I went back and worked for him that summer, and I never left that firm until 2023 when Judge C pulled my arm and said I should be a judge in Harris County, Texas, and I thank her for that. So, as in 2023, I was appointed unanimously by all the then existing Harris County judges, and my job was to be an associate judge for the court. This was immediately following the time of COVID, and my role was to hear eviction appeals. Eviction typically takes place on the JP level, and at that point, if the litigant is not satisfied in the decision they get, they have an opportunity to appeal to the county courts of law, and then we issue them a new trial, de novo is what it's called, and hear them out. And because of COVID, because of the financial crisis created by COVID, it created a huge backlog of eviction cases. So the landlords were upset, the tenants were upset, and then it impacted the other judges' dockets. They couldn't hear all the other important cases that need to be heard because of the backlog of the backlog of eviction cases. I accepted that job, and I began in January of 2024 as the associate judge for the county, the first ever associate judge for Harris County Civil Courts at law. And I tell you, it's tough work hearing evictions day in and day out. It doesn't come easy. You're seeing people on some of the worst days of their lives. But what my friend said, well, how would you do that? I said, well, the way I look at it is if I was being evicted, I'm the judge I would want to hear my case. Right? And that's how we get to the why. I'm a believer in everybody's voice is important. Everybody should have an opportunity to say their piece. And if you're a litigant in my court, I'm going to hear you out. I'm going to listen to you. I don't care if you're a pro se. I don't care if you're the highest paid lawyer in Harris County or Houston, Texas. What you have to say is equally important. I don't care how much you donated to me or how much you haven't donated to me. Your voice will be heard equally in my court. What I've learned in the process, my first week on the bench, I had to evict somebody. But what I did was give them the opportunity to say their piece. And all folks wanted to say, I'm not here because I didn't want to pay. I'm here because I couldn't. That resonated with me. As a child, we were evicted several times. So I understood. And the way I viewed my job is I had to follow the law. That's my role. I took an oath. I have to follow the law. And I did that. But I can do it with compassion and empathy for the individuals who are going through it and who are seeing me on their worst days. That first week, after evicting someone, the lady looked at me and said, Judge, thank you. And it meant the world to me because it was a difficult spot. Heck, I'm a bleeding heart. If it was up to me, I could stay there forever. But that's not my role. I have to follow the law and uphold my oath. So I've taken that from the evictions context to all walks of life as it pertains to the Harris County Courts of Law. I'd like to talk about at this time what we do in Harris County Courts of Law. We hear cases of $325,000 amount in controversy or less. We hear eminent domain cases. We hear appeals to evictions. We hear appeals to justice of the peace cases. We hear breach of contract cases. We hear automobile accidents. Anything that can happen that will cause you to have a legal dispute and it's less than $325,000, you can be in our courts. What's great about our courts is that probably 30 to 40% of the litigants are self-represented, pro se parties. So I still interact with folks who I see out in the community daily. And with the advent of ChatGPT, we got a whole bunch of new lawyers out on the street. In all seriousness. So I get to interact with them, and sometimes they don't understand the complexities of the rule of law and the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure that they're still held accountable to. And so what I do is, I can't provide them legal advice, but I can provide them an opportunity to be heard, feel like they've been treated fair. And what I tell folks, I can't always agree with you, but what I can promise you is you will be heard, it will be taken into consideration, and I will apply it to the law accordingly. That's what I can do, and that's what I intend to do moving forward as the presiding judge of Harris County Court of Law number 5. Why are we here today? We're here because I need your help. This is the newest court that's been created in Harris County. It was established in the last special session of the special legislative session with the great assistance of Representative Charlene Ward Johnson and many other of the legislators. The effective date of the court was December 4th, 2025. I was appointed in November to represent you all for the rest of this year. And what I'm asking you to do is to put me on the ballot for the general election for November 4th of this year so I can represent the Democratic Party as its nominee as we seek to maintain this court. And if you can do that for me, yeah. Okay. where you can help me out and help this campaign and this effort and keep this momentum moving forward is showing up on June 16th at Willard Avenue Baptist Church, and during the nomination process, you nominate none other than Judge Jermaine Thomas as the nominee for Harris County Court at Law number 5. Today what we have also are these pledge cards.
Sorry about that. That's all right.
That's okay. All right, thank you. Are these pledge cards? It has a few talking points on the front, but on the back, if you haven't filled one out, and I know many of you in here have, it tells you that you're on board with our effort, that I can use your name, and as I tell other precinct chairs about the momentum we're building to solidify this nomination. I have several here on this table with pens that you can fill out and you can leave it with us. And then soon we'll be making a big announcement about all the precinct chairs that we have on board. I am pleased to announce that I have the endorsement of every Democrat on the Harris County Commissioner's Court. That's Commissioner Ronnie Ellis, Commissioner Garcia, as well as Commissioner Briones. I'm very appreciative of that. As Representative Charlene Ward Johnson just announced, she's endorsed the campaign. Representative Ron Reynolds has endorsed the campaign. Representative Ann Johnson has endorsed the campaign as well. We'll be making more announcements about the endorsements as we move forward. That's my spiel. Now what I'd like to do is open the floor to questions for you all that you may have. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Newsy.